committee meeting of City Council. Adequate public notice has been provided to the public specifying the time and place for this meeting. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Beckett. No problem. Okay. All right.
I'm a bear. I'm here.
Oh, okay. Right.
I have a child from me.
I heard him. Didn't know that. Okay, we start over again? Okay, testing 1, 2?
Yes.
You got me?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Good afternoon. Let me take this opportunity to welcome each and every one of you to a special committee meeting of City Council. Adequate public notice has been provided to the public specifying the time and place for this meeting of the special committee in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. And notice is mailed to the Times and Trenton newspaper, of course, in the first floor bulletin board of City Hall, City Clerk's office on July 1st, 2006. The agenda for this meeting was mailed, posted, and filed on Friday, May 25th, 2007. Madam, for roll call purposes of the special committee, Mr. Costa.
Here.
Mr. T.
Yes.
Mr. Malone.
Here.
And Mr. Segura is absent, and myself, Paul Pintello, is 5. Okay. On the record, let me just be clear in terms of what we're gathering here for the discussion. Let me take opportunity to thank Mr. T for jotting down some points of interest, and I had an opportunity to talk about some of them. We thought that they would be in the best interest of the committee as we have our discussion, and hopefully we can speak about some of these matters. For the record, because this is not a regular scheduled council meeting, I've been advised that public comment necessarily will not be taking place this evening, but will be part of our regular council meeting at our next Tuesday conference session. Okay, no problem. Okay, the special committee, for the purpose of investigating the Sherman, the purpose of the meeting, should I say, of the special committee, is for the purpose of investigating the Sherman Avenue campus of the Trenton Board of Education in regard specifically to the 9th grade computer program. And the purpose of this meeting, one is to schedule a date, to establish some rules for the committee, to establish our focus necessarily of the investigation, to I guess discuss with what specific individual we would like to invite and or subpoena. And if we pull out the outline that Mr. Ortiz just passed out, I think I mentioned the scope, discuss how many people were involved, to what extent, how pervasive or isolated the issue, certainly what corrective action plans, what corrective action plan has been presented, and I understand that corrective action plan has already been presented to the Trenton Board of Education, but we also, as a member of this body, have the right to issue any recommendations as it relates to that corrective action plan. Certainly we talk about procedures in the future to prevent the resolution for affected students. As you some of you may have read, obviously a lawsuit has been filed and will be filed with the Trenton Board of Education, as I've read publicly in the newspaper, that some of you may be aware of as well. Certainly any disciplinary action will take place, and certainly will comment the cause of the Sherman quote fiascos that happened. I think probably we should look at one or two things initially. One with regard to sharing the investigative committee, and with regard to sharing the investigative committee. I'm open to whoever may have a specific interest, but if not, I would certainly like to make a point. That's the first order of business I think that would be appropriate. Any discussion with regard to sharing committee? Mr. Malone, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Ortiz?
The only concern is if we're getting the finances, like with you and Mr. Segura have to review themselves.
I know that was brought up with regards to our membership with the School Board of Estimate. However, do you anticipate any questions that you may ask specifically with regards to financing? Let me show, because I don't think we should be recused, hopefully, but my understanding, at least with our membership to that committee, is basically a review of the school budget, questions with regards to the school budget as a policy, a policy document driving, what, outside of contractual issues, that is, driving what programs and or new additions, buildings, what have you, will be added to the school district for that school fiscal year, per se. Would that necessarily preclude us if a question dealing with finances were brought up every day?
Unless you get to specifics, it's impossible to talk, just because it has something to do with finances, that doesn't necessarily mean it's conflict out with members who are members of the...
They should sit as well.
But there are potentially, depending on where it goes, if there are those types of questions, there's conflict.
I think you should just be aware of that for the record. I don't have any problem.
It's your call, and I guess I will.
I plan to sit through. I don't have no finance questions other than perhaps what's going to cost to rectify it. That's a jam.
Again, I can only advise you. You have to decide whether it's a conflict or not.
I'm comfortable, Mr. Cochran. I don't want to speak to Mr. Segura, but I would assume that he's comfortable. He was anxious to participate on this meeting. Any other comments or questions with regard necessary to chairmanship of the special committee? Do you have any comments?
No, I don't comment on that.
I take the liberty right now, Mr. Ortiz. Hold it back there. I got you. I like to take the liberty right now to to nominate Ms. Ortiz to chair this committee, if she doesn't mind. One, the reason being, I think, for a large part, and I should be giving credit where credit is due, a large part, she was very instrumental in fighting with the council to have some response to this matter. And she did a good job in leading the area to bring us to this point. And I think it would be only proper if she would accept. Now, if she doesn't accept, that's another matter. We have to put it on the side. We're at the sidebar. But there's a nomination out there, and I believe there's a second, Mr. King. Can I get a nod that you will accept it?
Yes, Mr. President.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to break your arm. Okay.
I just think that sometimes we should all share.
Huh?
I'd like to share.
We are sharing. We're sharing. We put it in your lap. I'm going to share with you. For all purposes, let's take a vote. All in favor?
You might as well vote.
We might vote. Okay. All in favor? Oh, well, for purposes of a vote in regards to nominating and electing, appointing Ms. Ortiz to serve as chairwoman in the special committee. Second was made by Mr. Cochran. On roll call, Mr. Cochran.
Yes.
Ms. Ortiz.
Yes.
Mr. Malone.
Yes.
Mr. Segura is absent, and yes for Mr. President. Okay. Mr. Ortiz, we can do one or two things. You have the agenda in front of you that we talked about. If you'd like to follow that, and we can chime in with some questions. I think the next thing, my opinion, is to come up with a date, and then we can talk about some additional items.
I have a request. Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just aware that the corrective action plan is in front of me. I see it here. It must have come today.
It was supposed to come today. Now, if you see it in front of you, I don't see it in front of me.
I don't see no.
But I know we were supposed to have received it. I know we were supposed to have received it, and I will assure you. Is that it?
That's the corrective action plan.
That's
It was
it?
here on my desk.
Okay. I mean, we were all supposed to receive a copy of it. Yeah, that was but you don't feel like
He knew he was...
So I was set up from the door.
Is this a setup, Miss Lady?
This was set up from the door. I see it now. It took me a
Yeah, I
minute,
see.
but I got it.
All right, we'll get a copy of it.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am. You have the floor, Ms.
I simply put together, not knowing that you would be so generous and my colleagues would be so supportive, I simply put together, as I typically do for
Yeah, I'm just mentioning that.
meetings like this, we've removed Cordelia Staten as a member of the investigative committee. That was done in error.
Is that on the resolution?
This is in error.
Okay, on your...
The information that I sent.
Okay,
So we'll
I'm sorry, yes.
remove Councilwoman's statement from
No problem.
just as a point of interest, Ms. Kelsey, this is the documentation then, I guess, for this meeting, if you will. And I asked and would like to have some additional comments from my colleagues that we first determined what the scope of the superintendent's investigation was, but we have that in front of us. And then how many people were involved, which would also be in the scope, so we need to review that, and to what extent. The other issue that I think is a pretty big one, Mr. President, is this a pervasive issue or an isolated one? I think that as we move forward, especially considering some of the things that we've read in the paper today, that there may be further questions we need to ask with respect to there being approximately, based on those reports, some 350 people who were not going through the police report check.
Let me make sure I understand what you're saying. You're talking about expanding
The scope
the scope
Of
with
what
regards
we're
to the
doing.
investigation of
For
Sherman
us.
Avenue?
for us, yes.
Yeah, because
Mr. Lockwood,
I think we have to make that clear.
Would that be, will we be able to do that legally?
I think you're within the
Within the
realm.
boundaries? So I'd like to expand it to include that, Mr. President.
Okay,
Okay?
yeah, I think that's fine.
May I suggest that you decide up front if you're going to invite people to come and give testimony, if you're
Yes.
going to subpoena them,
I'd like to subpoena the superintendent.
and if you're going to have a court stenographer to take testimony, you're going to rely on the tapes. Probably at this organizational point, we need to decide
Okay, let's,
such as that. And if you're going to have a court reporter here, are there funds available in the budget to pay for that and to pay for transcripts, those type of things?
I think, Mr. President, that is the pleasure of the body. Mr. Malone?
In addition to the superintendent, I also think we need to question some of the board members involved. We'd like to also have them before us.
Are you saying past and present or board members,
Past ones involved, not the current new ones.
Okay.
I'd like to have Beverly Jones come before us. I'd like to hear from the administrators that have been named in the DOE reports. I would like to hear from the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, who kind of started this off in terms of investigating and kicked it over to the state. Just find out what they uncovered.
I think, for the record, Mr. Prosecutor's Office was clear that they took a look at it and determined that there were some issues that they needed to examine. The Prosecutor's Office wasn't really involved to an extent beyond that.
Well, they uncovered some issues.
Okay.
Possibly we can request a copy of their report. I'm sure there was a written
Okay.
report.
So who we're going to invite first, and then what reports we're going to look for. So we're going to look for the report from the Prosecutor's Office.
Is there any chance the state will send one investigator to come and talk to us to walk us through the report?
We can always ask.
Yeah.
That'd be a stretch, but we can certainly ask.
Well, since they conducted their own investigation,
Yeah.
that
Okay.
would be helpful.
So we'll invite the state, we'll invite specific board members being Mr. Malone.
The board members that were on the board during
The entire
time.
board?
Correct. And in addition to, didn't the superintendent mention that the board was conducting an investigation, an internal investigation?
Well, that was the scope.
Did they do it, right, but he was doing one separately, I believe. There were 3 total, one by the state, himself, and the board. I may be mistaken, but that's what I thought he said when it was before us.
We're
Do you recall that?
asking, we're asking.
I want to say yes.
scope of
Because
his
we're getting, we
investigation.
got one investigation, which I didn't
We
see.
have the
That's
cap.
from him?
That is, yes, this is
That's
his
his
corrective
internal-
action
Oh,
plan,
that's his actual plan,
Okay.
okay.
Which the corrective action plan will give us some idea of the scope. So I think we need to review, let's determine who we're going to invite, what reports we're going to look for, then we'll look over that report and determine where we go from there. I have a list of questions that you guys surely need to add to.
Wait, you talking about, I don't understand what you said. You said list of questions being what now?
We have questions here where I wanted to ask the scope of the superintendent, specifically investigation. How many people were involved, to what extent? Was it pervasive or isolated? What the correction action plan is, including procedures to prevent this from happening.
Well, those would be questions that you would directly ask him.
The
ask him.
resolution of affected
Right.
students.
Right.
The disciplinary action being taken for the staff involved.
Mhm.
And more important than any of this, what situation was present to invite the folks that were involved to participate in something like this? What was the conduit for this happening? That's going to be critical, because the only way we can prevent it is to know what caused it. Okay?
Well, you know what, actually, that brings up a good point, too. Should we submit questions in advance necessarily, or either way,
What's the board's
committee?
pleasure? What would the board,
Or-
the committee like to do?
Well, put it this way, I don't want to waste the
Well-
time where he's going to come here and say, well, I'll get back to you on that, or that's information I don't have, at hand, I'll get it to you. So possibly somewhere, you're asking for how many people were involved. That we may want to ask him prior to, so he can gather that information. Because I can see him coming, it's right there, actually.
Okay, we need to get somebody to make copies, because the number of staff involved is in there.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So some of our questions are going to be answered in that plan. Then we need to determine, that's why we need to follow Mr. Locke's advice. We've determined who we're going to invite. Is that the only report we want from the prosecutor's office?
And we also want the states.
We have that.
That's there?
So we
That's
have
the
their
that was
findings
the
of
original.
the investigation.
That was the original.
You want something in addition to that,
No,
Mr. Locke?
that's what I want.
Okay.
Are you going to start with the superintendent and subpoena the superintendent?
Can we subpoena Lytle? That's what I want. Can we subpoena Lytle? I'd like Lytle to be first on that list. I want to subpoena him because Lytle was sitting in the chair at the time. What Lofton is going to tell us is what he found. He's going to be Lofton, the other guy, what's his name, Lytle? Him will be able
Well, the
to
statute says you can subpoena anyone within the state. That is not-
write his boss.
Well, listen, let's invite him. He teaches at a prestigious university. He may get a black eye if he, refuses to come and talk to us. So invite him publicly, and if he says no, then the University of
Well,
Trenton
then for the record,
may deal with it. And perhaps he'll move back to the States.
now that, something called extradition.
I'm watching a lot of shows.
I watched Law and Order. Perry Mason. I don't know what you will watch it. But, Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
would like to publicly invite Dr. Lytle with the consent of my committee
No
colleague.
need to consent. I think it's-
And we'd like to
it's
send
appropriate.
a letter, Ms. Kelsey, inviting him by registered mail, regular mail, air mail, and speedy delivery.
So
Date
what,
should-
Can we
who
set a
who are
date?
we inviting first? I would recommend Lytle first.
Lytle is absolutely
Yeah,
first.
he should be the first. And that would most likely be our next committee meeting, correct?
Well, we need to set a date, yes, as to when we'll have the next committee meeting. We have calendars in front of you. We have calendars in front of you. May is gone.
And the purpose, what's the purpose of the
The
next
purpose
meeting?
of the next meeting, Mr. President, will be to hear from Dr. Lytle or Dr. Lofton, Mr. Lofton.
Let's invite him first.
We'll invite him for
This will actually be the
beginning of the, yes.
So your suggestion is to make part of the meeting to address the comments.
Yes. Perhaps. This will be the one that begins and we'll settle as we move along. Is that all right, Mr. Committee? Ms. Costa? Okay. We're in June and we need to look at a today is Thursday, the 31st. And so you think 4 weeks would be enough time? Or is it too long?
Well, it all depends on how many people you want to put in, and how many, and what type of information.
3 weeks is a
Because that's a conference.
right.
public hearing.
That's right. So we can't do it on Thursday, so it has to
We
be
did
the fourth
28.
week then.
28th?
28th? 28th it is, Mr. President.
That
Please
will,
note,
the
Ms.
twenty-eighth will
Kelsey,
be, twenty-eighth will be what?
Do you want to do 5:30?
Thursday at 5:30.
Okay, I'm saying, what, that meeting will represent what? That's
That
not a
meeting
meeting
will
of us.
represent the invitation to the past and the current
Light on.
superintendent.
Okay, just for those two individuals?
Yes, but, yeah.
I will be away. I don't know if you need me here for that or not, that's your choice, but I will be away on that day.
Wouldn't Ms. Lyles be able to sit? Or somebody else in the law department? Okay.
Let me back up, if you don't mind me asking. I remember the assumption that we want to try to do this expeditiously and expediently, and not to miss anything, but it seems like they're starting late. I thought we can start early, we can have the, I like to see us do this in the month of June, and usually maybe days necessarily in the month of June.
Then you want to do something on
Then
a
you have to do it
different
on the
date?
12th, on
Yeah,
Tuesday.
all the Wednesdays are open.
All Tuesday.
Yeah, all the Wednesdays are open, and every other
Or
Thursday.
how about the 18th?
On Monday.
I mean, I think I'm asking again.
I hear what you're saying,
Why are we
Mr.
pushing
President.
back? Because
Because we want
if
to,
we go to 28th, let's say we need another meeting, then you go into July.
why don't we do 2 dates then? How's that? And then that way, so the 28th is one date at 5:30. And then we can move up to the 11th, which is a Monday,
5:30?
at 5:30.
Notification will have to go out tomorrow. It should get at least 2 weeks notice.
Notification can go out tomorrow. And we're sending it by all mail that the U.S. has for Dr. Lyman. Overnight.
So now we're giving them the choice of the 11th and the
No.
28th?
We're not. We can invite Lytle, Lofton on the 11th and Lytle on the 28th. Or, I mean, however you want to do it. If you think we should get them both here on that day,
Invite
then
them both
let's
on the
do it that
11th.
day.
Unlikely Lytle.
Okay. All right, the 11th for Lytle and Lofton, and then the 28th we'll wrap up with the board members. So in the month of June, we'll complete our investigation, Mr. President. Is that fair enough?
That sounds good. That sounds good. I think we should wrap this up in a month.
Okay.
I think there's a few crucial questions that all of us want answered, but everything else will probably be ancillary to that in terms of who did what, now how you going to stop present this, and what steps will you take in the future.
Okay.
Because I'm of the opinion, and I say this company, that whole program should be scrapped.
Which program?
That whole ninth grade computer program should be scrapped.
I'm of the impression that everybody involved should be scrapped.
Well, I'm just speaking of the program.
Okay.
And those who need to be, just computer courses, what we're hearing, what's coming out is that people.
And I'm only speaking for the people who are involved, not the ones who are allegedly involved, the ones
But,
who are
I mean,
actually
I will
involved.
agree to the statement that Mr. Compton, that there was other impact, there was other students impacted. We have, I think you have to take it in concerning, their interests as well. Because I will be surprised if Mr. Lofton sat there and said, okay, now next year we're going to try the computer, we're going to try the ninth grade computer program over again. But this time we're going to do it the right way.
Mr. President, I actually believe that there should be some checks and balances in place. And I think, once we find out why this happened, what the conduit was, we're going to have a clearer picture, no matter what they tell us. Did it happen because so many students were failing? Did it happen because they wanted to increase numbers? Did it happen because they wanted to look as if they were progressing in terms of educating our students?
Were they encourageable kids? Was it a dumping ground?
I don't care if they were encourageable or not.
I mean, those are all issues that I've heard that people have stated with regards to the program in and of itself. It may have failed before it even got started. And why no one necessarily took the initiative up front to address it, because it was brought to close attention.
Okay, then for action items purposes, Mr. President, on the 11th, we will have Lytle and Lofton. On the 28th, we will have another meeting which could possibly include the board or anybody else that the committee
June,
determine?
the June 11th,
In addition to,
And
prior
June
to
28th, right?
those meetings, we'll have to send those letters out requesting the documentation that we're asking for, the report of the prosecutor's office or...
Ms. Kelsey and Ms. Cardoza can take care of that tomorrow, that's a priority. Okay.
For the Lightning School Board, that's 9 folks. We've also asked to speak to the administrators because of the agenda, so maybe we should schedule the 11th and the 18th and the 28th.
Mr. Costa, with all due respect, I think once we begin to gather the information from Lytle and Lofton, we might determine how we want to move forward. But the 18th would actually be an opportunity if the need presents itself. I mean, Lytle may come here and throw himself on the mercy of the sword. We'll have one for him and just decide that, I mean, really, that, look, you know, this is what happened, this is how it happened, where do we go from here? And then we'll deal with it accordingly. We don't know what's going to happen on the 11th, but the 18th is certainly an opportunity.
the 18th is a Thursday.
It's a Monday.
Yeah, I only heard 11th and the 28th.
The 18th would be an opportunity if we needed it.
I just make sure we got the 11th.
The 18th and the 28th.
Right, okay. Okay, so we're doing 3 days.
Yes, if
Okay,
necessary.
fine, okay.
The 18th is not set in stone at this point.
Okay. It's an opportunity. We'll just hold the date then. Okay. In the meantime, I'll clean this up, Mr. President, and I'll prepare for it to be sent at the request of the committee to Lofton and Lytle,
That is what?
the question.
No.
Oh, no, I wouldn't submit any questions. If the information that
Did
you're
you-
requesting...
Not all of it.
Oh, not
Not
all
all
of
of
it?
it.
Okay, I haven't seen
What
the
the
report,
scope-
so not the scope.
Whenever there's a corrective action plan, it gives you the scope of the problem, as he saw it. Because then it's going to tell you what happened, what he's going to do to fix what happened, and you'll be able to get from that what the scope was. And that's important. That's very important. How many people were involved in that as well, and to what extent? To what extent is a big question. That's not going to be answered today. Whether it's pervasive or isolated, it's going to depend on how honest they want to get, because today's paper tells us there's some other things going on as well. And then the procedures to prevent, the resolution for affected students, disciplinary action, and the conduit. Those are very, very important questions. If you'd like to add to or take away from that, tell me now, so that I can prepare the way.
Well,
This is the beginning.
Right. I think we just get everything out that we need to get out. Don't hold nothing back, because you don't want to regret having not said something or asked something. You know, the worst case scenario, someone says no. Well, I didn't know, or you get the answer that you know.
Okay.
Don't regret not asking any question that falls within the purview of scope of the resolution. That's why we got it. That's why we investigated.
Okay, Mr. Malone, would you like to add anything?
No, I'm fine with
Mr. Costa? And Mr. President, I vote that we move forward and adjourn our meeting. And we'll see any other questions, problems, or complaints.
I don't have any other questions. So the 11th, the 18th, and the 28th, for the record,
Yes.
is the date.
The 18th is an opportunity, Mr. President, if the need presents itself.
And the immediate invitation will go toward, former Superintendent Lytle and Lofton. Lytle, no, former Superintendent Lytle,
Right.
as well as current Superintendent Rodney Lofton.
And I want to be clear, are we going to send information ahead of time? Because you made a point that we don't want to say, I'll get back to you on that in 2 weeks. Do you want to send this ahead? Ms. Malone, Ms. Costa, Mr. President?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
In terms of sending questions.
We're going to send this ahead then, so that when they come, they're prepared to answer these questions and move beyond it if
So
necessary.
recognize the fact that there still may be, I may need to get back with you, or that, you know.
Well, that's why we have 3 days.
That's
Because we're going to be flexible until we get them
Okay.
here. Same way you bent my arm, we're going to bend yours. Okay? Is there anything else?
I don't have anything else for the record necessarily. All the meetings will be set in the council chambers.
Council conference.
Okay, so that's fine. If we need to move out there, if we get a large crowd, then...
Well, I would anticipate it would be,
Yeah, I
some parents. And let me tell you another thing.
I'm hoping there'll be some parents.
The other reason why I see the importance of this committee, the Board of Education, in terms of the school board and or the superintendent, has done their thing. This investigation committee takes it out of the Board of Education and puts it more in the public spotlight so that there's no cover-up, none of our interests lie directly, that is, in the Board of Education. Well, but this is the conversation you'll hear if in fact it stayed on that side, if it stayed on Trenton Avenue. You take it out of Trenton Avenue, you ask the public questions that you need to ask. We don't have no nickels in the quarter other than we want to get what the taxpayers are paid for. And we want to get the truth or the bottom of the matter of what happened. We want to be honest, forthright, and give us answers that we want.
Mr. President, I think we all agree that it's important that the public trust not be compromised in any way, form, or fashion. This is of particular interest this time because of the nature of it and the fact that it involves children.
Agreed.
And possibly it's important that the public trust not be compromised and that they get all the information that's available to them and the scope of the investigation as quickly as possible. I make a motion to adjourn, Mr. President.
If you don't have any further, I'll give you my question. Motion for adjournment, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Ayes have it. God bless you.